Yo, what's up, YouTubers? Back in the truck, just to get it, and headed up here to Wichita. Got AT&T parts today, which is very interesting. They do a lot of those joystick controls and stuff like that. Like, all our stuff really is made other places. And there's a guy sitting on there. He had this little charging cord, and that charging cord had a deal in it where they could monitor everything and overshadow your screen. Like this phone right here. Every now and then, when the battery gets low, you can see it just right. You can see that little overshadow deal where the phone peekers look at my phone. I know it sounds like a total nut job, total nutcase type of thing, but it's really real. You get on here and you tell the truth about Bible stuff, and they'll watch you. The entire United States, all the United States, they want you to think it's China doing it, and China wants you to think that the American government is doing it. But it's Satan, okay? We'll just throw it right out there. It is Satan. Satan, your enemy, is watching your phone. Anyway, but God's allowed the parts that He does, and it's very Book of Job. Okay, our life here is the proving ground and the testing zone. You grow and mature into Christ likeness here, and then you become qualified for the new earth. So if you keep your focus on the new earth, I'm like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to, do this is how I'm supposed to do that type of deal. That's very cool. And then I have this thing I call stumbling into righteousness. I'm not this smart. Any intelligence you see in me comes directly from Him. Any intelligent thing I say or do, all that credit goes to God. Every bit of it. I'm a jackass, right? Obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there was not divine intervention, yeah. I mean, yeah, I probably couldn't go to the toilet right. Anyways, wow, was brilliant. Bad stuff. Anyway, so I'm watching this lady, and she's telling us how, we can see that, the Washington Post and Reuters, whatever, all our mainstream propaganda says that, China guy seeing Russian guy, and they're, solid against us. She's like, but is that really true? And blah, blah, blah. And she's on there talking about the population of China's low, and, this, that, and the other. Well, I watched a deal where China said that they were going to increase pressure the way they increase pressure. One of those being propaganda. All right. Probably thereabouts the same time. That's when this little Asian lady popped up. Kind of messes up English a little bit, stuff like that. And gives us all this information about how China really ain't as strong as it looks. It's not that strong. It's just, there's not really, 1 billion people there. There's not really, they're not really that good with Russia. And Xi Jinping really isn't that healthy or whatever. And if I was China, that's exactly what I would do. I would have 100 channels on there talking about how I am not that tough. To get y'all calmed down. If y'all think that everything's cool, you'll just go back to, living life and not pay no attention to it. And I can keep, diverting my factory workers into the military, because that's what they're really doing. And we got about a year, I'd say. I see all of it. I know all of that, or whatever like that. You know what I mean? That I came to the conclusion, much like I did years ago. You know what I mean? Drive the truck, hand out the Bibles. You know what I mean? We got good Bibles. I guess everybody else promotes what they're doing on here. So, you gotta have one of these handy. One of these here Refuge Medical Verified deals. You gotta get some training, boys. If you don't know how to use that, then you don't know how to use it, okay? If you can't reach over and grab it, you don't have it. If you can't reach and grab it, you don't have it. You know what I mean? just because you have something doesn't mean you're proficient with it. Okay, you know, like I got a calculator, can't do taxes very well. So if my mission is taxes and I have a calculator, I still need professional advice. Never underestimate professional help. You know what I mean? Seek professional help and lay up your treasure in heaven, because where your treasure is, your mind will be also, right? So, they also say that birds of a feather flock together. So if you talk about Jesus constantly, a lot of people will go, well, I do stumbling into righteousness, right? I'll do something because I won't listen to nobody. I'm terribly paranoid. I smoked weed for 30 years, right? So, paranoid, right? Anyway, very, back roads. If you explain to somebody what you had to do to get a bag of weed in 1990, with all the secret handshakes and codes, and got to know somebody that knows somebody in the whole underground, and then like national, you know what I mean? So, hey, it was a big deal. And a lot of the people from Oklahoma in the Dust Bowl went to California. So you got kinfolk in Oklahoma, kinfolk in California. California's got money. Oklahoma's bored. So there was a lot of interactions. We'll just leave it there. But that's all networking. To this day, I go to California, to Northern California, and I see people just like me. And when I talk to them for a while, they're almost related or related. It's crazy. Same thing down on the border, because trucking. Anyways, keep it above board, Skip. Okay, so I call it stumbling into righteousness. So one day, I'm just trying to put it into words, right? And I think I was at a truck stop witnessing to somebody. Actually, a lot of this stuff I say is stuff I've told people in the 5-minute ministry. So I'll say something, and then it's almost like me and the person are hearing it for the first time together. I call it stumbling into righteousness because I'll do something and it works, and then later on I'll read it in the Bible or somebody will point it out, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's a lot of confirmation for me, and even with that, there's the didn't we cast out demons, heal the sick, raise the dead, and he says plainly to them, depart, I never knew you. So just because you can walk in the gas station and quote, the Bible to somebody that you're unaware, maybe you read it and just forgot or whatever, but it's not your thought that you're portraying to this person that needs exactly that information conveyed in love and friendship. Just because you can do that don't mean that ain't salvation. You know what I mean? That ain't salvation. I got that. I don't know how to use this. I don't know how to use this. You know what I mean? I'll take my shirt off and stuff it in a bullet hole until it's clogged up while the paramedics are on the way. You know what I mean? So wrapping duct tape around it, put a tourniquet on. Tourniquet being my belt or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I got a tourniquet and all kind of wound packing and stuff like that to do. I don't know how to use it. So what good is it? You know what I mean? But for myself, they say that you fall back to your level of training. You don't rise to the occasion. You get in a fight. Oh, I see red. I'll just take them out. No, you fall back to your level of training, and then like your muscle memory and stuff. What muscle memory and stuff like that? If you don't fear the man with 1,000 kicks, fear the man that did one kick 1,000 times. That's your muscle memory and stuff like that. So, anyway, like when you go to work it out, if you got big and then you fall off and you go to work out, you get big again quick. And if a piece of firewood in the campfire's half burnt in the morning, it's easy to light it back on fire because it's half burnt. Stuff like that. My training is, help me, God. God, help me. Help me. Oh, Lord, will you please help me here? You know what I mean? And he does. And he gives me what I need in the moment. And I had to live that way. And there was something about if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. And I remember one time I had this deal, it had the Grim Reaper, and he's like holding the world, and on the deal it said no fear. And I put that on the front of that motorcycle. I had a GS 550EX Suzuki. I'm pretty sure it was stolen. But I had that when I was 13. And I remember we were riding. They called us the Pegs Angels. And anyway, we used to plant weed everywhere. We'd just pull over and stop. You know what I mean? And it'd be growing right in the fence row. And as it grow up, we just leaned it over, tied it down. The farmer would mow one side, the county would mow the other side. They'd never touch the fence. You know what I mean? So that's where you plant. Just make sure it's like a soggy spot. That way it stayed moist. And as that plant grew up, you just pull it over and tie it off. It grow up again, pull it over and tie it off. And shoot, that thing would be going 16, 20 foot. It'd go plumb. 2 T-posts later is the end of your plant. You know what I mean? And all the little things just grow up off the side of it. You just keep topping it. Pulling them leaves. Everywhere you pull the leaf, 2 will come out. A tomato plant does the same thing. Like you just make like a bush. Anyway, a tomato plant. And the bush was like a hedge. I think you just drive a little ways, do it again, do it again, do it again. A lot of the old homesteads had the outhouses. So we plant in the outhouses. That's where I learned to drop a deuce to plant the trees. Very effective, very, very effective. You got doo-doo, dirt, plant whatever, dirt, pee on it. Make sure it stays moist, and just about everything will grow. That's a solid. That's just doing you a solid. It always comes back to poo. Anyway, I guess I'm the shit. What can I say? Terrible. The point of what I'm saying is stumbling into righteousness. Man, I am terrible. So I would say and do stuff, and then later I'd read it in the Bible. I'd be like, oh, that's why that works. And what the deal was is I started telling people, I'm like, just talk about God all the time. It draws in good people. It'll run off the bad people. You know what I mean? You see somebody in the store, they're like, oh, there's that Bible thumper, and they will go the other way. And now you ain't got to deal with their BS. You know what I mean? So be a friend. Deal with their BS. Whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? But if you're known for that, when they see you, they'll run. And then you don't have to deal with it. So that's kind of it's a little bit chicken shit on my part to be that way. But I also know that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So if I've got that reputation and that's what I'm known for, and you don't want to talk to me, even if I chase you down, it's just gonna. You're still not gonna. That horse ain't gonna drink. So that don't work. It just don't work out. Anyway, so I'm watching this thing, and this guy reads the Bible on camera. It's real cool. I like it. He's a real good fella. And at one point I was at the truck stop, and I was talking about the water hose, and I had been working in the greenhouse, and I put in some corn back behind the corral, and they just tear everything up, right? So I bought these cheap garden hoses, and I just went in and out of that fence. So we went to an old alpaca farm. We got these giant rolls of fence for next to nothing. So the fence is freaking 7 foot tall, maybe 6. It's tall. Anyway, it's 2x4 weld, real thick, real thick gauge wire. Anyway, anyway, so I go through the thing like that, and with that hose, and after it sit for a while, it started getting kinks. So you could turn it on, and it wouldn't work. It did not work. I'd have been better off if I'd have put PVC and just plugged it that away. They just run that, and they just tied it off the wire to get it over there. The point was to get it up off the ground where it didn't get attacked with the weed eater, lawnmower, dogs chewing on it, blah, blah, whatever. So that's why it made sense. But then I thought, if I can get these kinks out or whatever, I was thinking about sin. So I was thinking about sin. So the more I get the sin out of my life, the more that God can flow, right? There's a drawback to that, though. I'll get to that here in a minute if I don't forget. Okay, so you get the sin out. When I had all the kinks out of the hose, I could barely turn the water on, and I could water my corn. I could get water to the garden, and after time and everything like that, every little kink just kind of settled in or whatever. Ended up, scrapping the whole idea because of it. And I threw that hose with all those kinks in the fire, actually. So, yeah, the hose wound up in Kahina because it was full of kinks. So the parable that I ended up telling, I told the parable at the truck stop doing the 5-minute ministry probably 11 times before I put it all together. It's kind of like you'll see the comedians talk about their jokes. Okay, so the comedians, I was watching the thing, and Larry the Cable Guy made $100,000 to tell jokes for an hour. And of course, he had to go there, take a day out to travel, take a day out to travel back. So really, it's a 3-day deal of his going in and doing. Well, he made $100,000, and I've heard Larry the Cable Guy back in the day. He used 3 of my jokes on stage. Like I had told the jokes for years, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I ought to look into this deal. So I'm truck driving and getting my YouTube certification on how to be a comedian, right? And look how tough I look because I'm leaning forward. Anyway, lean forward in your videos. Anyway, I'm just full of advice today, ain't I? So I watched this thing where Joe Rogan interviewed Jay Leno. Okay, these are champions. You know what I mean? They've really done a lot of stuff. And so I'm looking at that and hearing his advice on how he goes about it. And then, dude, I'll listen like Andy Frisella, champion in business. You know what I mean? And there's a guy that's got that School of Greatness. You know what I mean? I watched his stuff and everything like that. And I use all that stuff towards my witness. You know what I mean? And you can learn a lot. Okay, so the comedians was talking about they'll go to all these little small places and tell the jokes. They'll write a bunch of jokes and then they'll go try them out on stage and work on the delivery, this, that, and the other. Well, I did that with that Be Positive joke, and not only did I notice what people laughed at, what they did not, but I worked on my delivery and then it became natural. Because I had told 300 people, be positive, then I understood how to deliver it. All these little nuances started to work themselves out. There's probably a word for that, but I don't know. I forgot my coffee cup in there. I'm very upset about that. Anyways, so the repetition is a thing, and then the whole point of this video, the reason why I started making this video, here we are 20 minutes into this thing. I think that's why nobody watches these. I make them too long, but that's okay. I see the guy reading out of the Bible, and he was talking about the 2 trees and the pipe and all this kind of stuff like that or whatever. And he was using the term pipe instead of garden hose. And how what I'll tell people is the way I say it is God is like the water tower and the water. He's not just the water tower. He's also the water. And say you're connected to the city water, right? And then your bill's paid and all that, right? So you're righteous. You're in good standing. Due to what Jesus did, and then wherever you're at, your age and stage, you're progressing. You got to remember, when it comes to your relationship, your marriage is a great way to judge it. Like you're either, getting closer to your wife or further away all the time. It never stays stagnant. If you give her one small trinket every day, that's the same as if you gave her a brand new car every day. I don't know why it's like that, but they don't like if somebody gives me a new car, I'm going to be very appreciative for years. I literally bought my wife a brand new car, and the next day it was some other fuss. The new car may have lasted 5 days. You know what I mean? But after that, I needed to maintain the relationship with a wildflower, the emojis and GIF thingies on the cellular device do not count. Kind of, but not really. You need to buy the card, send it in the mail if you're out of town, for sure. You don't have to be there if you're working or whatever like that. But that card better hit. You better buy that I love you, get well card thingy and send it on in there. That little hallmark. Dayspring, that's the best. I worked over there for a while at Dayspring in Salem Springs, like the Jesus cards, which is cool, which is very, very cool. I mean, the place is called Dayspring. It's in Salem Springs, Arkansas. Where it used to be. Anyways, so God is the water tower itself and the water in the tower. Okay? And there's another parable about mankind lifts him up, and that's why he has his power via gravity. You know what I mean? The weight of the situation that you have lifted becomes the gravity in your life. So whatever you're lifting up is what you're going to be drawn to, affiliated with, and responsible to maintain. And it can be a horrific, it can be a blessing, but it's not going to be neutral. So that's where you get your, 2 sides and a fence, and the devil owns the fence. So whatever you're lifting up, putting in your ivory tower or whatever. Okay, so I would tell people, if you turn the water on, but your hose has got a bunch of kinks in it, you can turn it all the way on full pressure and barely get a drip. But if you take the kinks out of the hose, you can barely turn it on, and you get all the water you want. You get water all day long. You can walk off and leave it going and get a giant water bill because you pumped out 12,000 gallons on the ground or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So because you're affiliated, because you're connected, that's Jesus, right? So you're reading your Bible every day. That's your water payment. You know what I mean? You're pondering the things of God while you're driving. That's your water payment. You're seeing the needs of the people and you're asking God to help them. That's your water payment. You know what I mean? And after a while, these things become secondary. They're like a second nature. That's where like the pray without ceasing. I don't hear a lot of people preaching on that anymore. Used to you hear some, but not nearly enough. The praying without ceasing is when you're going in and doing it and doing it and going in and doing, and you're just noticing stuff. Help them, help them, help that, help them, help that. And you're just praying for people left and right. And man, my heart will go out for somebody. Like I'll see something, and my heart will go out for them. And I don't even have to say or think anything, or I don't have to say it out loud or in my head. My heart just goes out to them instantly. And it's just like a conveyance. I have, just like with telling jokes 1,000 times. I've prayed 1,000 times or whatever, right? I've kicked 1,000 times. And it's the same prayer. Help, 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 help. When you get this truck, living your life at 70 miles an hour in the traffic on I-35, you will develop your help me Lord muscle to epic status. And I just drove through a bunch of cool stuff, and the skyline of Austin, and they're building an upper level of road, and all this stuff is just so cool. And I don't know why I got this stupid camera on me instead of on that, but that's what's happening. So he's talking about the pocket. He's reading from Zechariah 4, and he's talking about it and everything, giving his commentary and stuff, which is real good. And I'm like, this is exactly what I've been saying for years. You know what I mean? And it hit me one time years ago. Dad was doing bad. Me and my dad both were single, right? And I had just come back to Oklahoma, but restarting life. I do that every now and then. And so was Dad. He was in. I think he got so many CSA points that he lost his license for 6 months. So no license, no money. It wound up doing bad. Anyway, so I stayed over there, helped him. He was helping me, and I was helping him. And did a lot of work out there, a tick or two. Got some things lined out, and set some stuff in motion that was awesome. Anyway, so one night, that day, he's like, "Get out of here!" Blah blah. And he's all mad and stuck a gun in my face, and I was like, "You might as well shoot me. I ain't gonna leave you," or whatever. I mean, that deep of a heart to heart, and he was going through what I call hurt dog syndrome. Like there was this dog, my dog's chewed it up, and then I went to help it, and the sucker bit me, and I kicked it, and then I thought, oh man, I shouldn't have kicked that dog, and but it hurt my thumb, and anyway, it was literally a knee-jerk reaction, right? And I recognized that in Dad when he was telling me to leave, because he was like, I don't want to hear your bullshit about Jesus and all this kind of stuff, whatever like that. I got real problems or whatever. And I'm over there. I'm like telling him the straight of it, but he's got hurt dog syndrome, so he's biting the hand that's helping, and I knew it. And everybody had left him, so he was saying, "Get away from me," because he was hurt. Everybody left. You know what I mean? And
in half a mile, keep left
he lost his wife and kids. Court was messing him up, and now his license is gone, and he's sitting there. You know what I mean? Devastated. And I'm like, I ain't gonna leave you. So he pulls the gun, get out of here, because that's what he had control of. He had the control of his property. That was his last little bastion of
keep
control.
Left to stay on I-35 North.
So, rather than fear, have a relationship and
continue for 136 miles.
And having that connection that could be taken away, he was just running everybody off at that point. And I'm like, I ain't gonna leave you. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't think it was that day, but thereabouts. Within the few weeks, we ended up sitting up talking all night one night. And man, he quoted about 3/4 of the New Testament. At one point, I had to just stop him. I'm like, yeah, you realize you're saying exactly what the Bible says, right? And of course, he was saying it in different words or whatever. And so I'm watching this guy from the internet talking and stuff like that and everything. And it's just dawning on me what he's saying. calling it a pipe or whatever, and how I call it the garden hose. And the garden hose analogy is it's not just how do I say this? God's the water tower and God is the water. But the inside of the water is for the garden, but the inside of the hose gets wet. You know what I'm saying? The inside of the hose gets wet. So like, you know, I'm out here and I'm telling people and stuff, and I'm trying to articulate the goodness in a way that you got to do it covert, right? So like, if you walk up to half these people and be like, the Bible says X, Y, Z, they're like, F that Bible, blah, blah, this, that. They hate God because somebody said they's a Christian and then did them dirty. And, you know, and the other half, they got conviction about. They don't understand what conviction is. They just know that it's uncomfortable, so they run. Their fight or flight kicks in. They get defensive, try to justify, or try to, you know, kill the messenger, all this other kind of stuff. You know, don't cast your pearls to the pigs lest they turn and tear you to pieces. But pigs like sweet feed, so, you know, I mean, like, you can still get them in the trailer and take them home and fatten them up, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, they're still productive. I mean, they're here, right? And you can fence off a section of your yard, let pigs run out there, rooting in it, taking everywhere, and then just take it back to the auction and sell them, and all that, you know, tiller actions has happened, and they'll root up all kinds of stuff. And, it looks like it's turning it up, but some hogs in a pen, and then move the pen somewhere else. Put the chickens on that section. It's about a 4-year process to, you know, you can pretty well go out there and just dig a little hole, you know what I mean, with a sharpshooter or post hole digger, and just plant right there. You don't have to till the whole field. And there's something about that gets the ground where you don't have to do the urea and all that shit, all that fertilizer. You know what I mean? Because the pigs root too, and then the chickens scratching too, and then the bugs do their thing, so the field's alive. So when you dig out this one spot with some post hole diggers and, you know, transplant your tomato plant into that spot, take a step, repeat, take a step, repeat. You know, you might go in a row for ease of harvest or whatever, but if you just rando this deal with the tomato plants and then do this plant supports that plant type of thing, I believe it's the Indian corn and the butcher block or something like that, and the beef steak tomatoes. You plant them side by side, and the corn stalk becomes the trellis for the tomato. And yeah, I think you put the corn in, and then you plant the tomato. You put the corn in and wait for it to come up, and then you transplant the tomato plant right beside it. So, you know, and then do your buckets. Mark which side is north, and you want 3 chicken turds per bucket and 3 tomato stems. Like plant 7, leave the toughest 3, and then just transplant your whole bucket. You know what I mean? So that works out real good. And keep the north side north. That way you don't shock your plant. You'll be amazed at how much let the radio play helps too. If you leave a radio in the garden at night, make sure you got some good Jesus music going on, and just let it play all night. And that's another. It does something to the food. I don't know how to explain it, but I have ate food from the garden. I have ate food from the store. The garden is much better than the store. You're probably familiar with that. But the greenhouse with the Jesus music playing food, buddy, I don't know what the deal is or how it works, but that is the best food for sure. repetition's a thing. So God is the water tower. So I lift him up in my life. And the gravity. See, a water tower works from a pump. You know, all you preppers out there know that there's like the water tower, and they pump the water in the tower, and then the gravity pulls the water down, and all water pressure in the United States, 90% of it is from gravity, not from the initial. It's like a battery reserve. It's a reserved energy. You know, they pump it up into the tower, but it falling is what brings it out of the tower, right? So, as you got to get pumped up. You know what I mean? You got to pump up the volume, and you got to be in constant communication with the water to get it up in the tower. Okay, now knowing that God is the tower, okay, He can hold it. Okay, and knowing that I'm putting all this study time and dwell time and just basking in the glory of the Lord and this pondering of His ways, of His goodness and grace, and then reaching out to these people, just my heart to His heart to heart type of deal. My heart goes out. I see someone in need and my heart goes out. Most people were just like, watch that. What's that commercial with them crying dogs? And they're like, oh, you know, this is $12 to the SPCA or whatever like that. Then they'll see some bum with a sign that says anything helps, and they get disgusted. I'm exactly the opposite. I'm like, F them dogs. It's a dog, you know what I mean? Which I love dogs actually, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about that. You know, like, I see that SPSA or whatever, and I get mad because I'm like, the thieving sons of guns. and then you got the guy that sees that somebody's on TV, you know, bringing the gospel to somebody, and they're like, they're a bunch of thieves or whatever. I'm like, you're going to send $15 a month to feed the dogs, but you won't send $15 a month to help Billy Graham go overseas or whatever, preach the gospel in a stadium. You know what I mean? It's like, it don't make no sense to me, man. It's like, yeah. Well, and then that comes from Bible study too, because Jesus talked to that lady, and he's like, I gotta go to the children. You know, I'm not supposed to feed the dogs. And she's like, well, even the dogs eat the scraps off the master's table. And he's like, well, if you're wise enough to come up with that answer, I'm gonna go ahead and help you. You know what I mean? She proved herself to be good ground, good fertile ground that can handle a seed and grow a vine. You know what I mean? So, yeah. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I see these people out here, and then, oh, help, 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 help that guy right there. You know what I'm saying? Help me, help me. And then, being kind and having a joyful experience. You know what I'm saying? Like English joy, not Hebrew joy, which they're actually both the same. Once you kind of enjoy the enduring suffering, you see it as a valor. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people read that. They'll read, oh, Paul was shipwrecked and snake bit. He was such a good dude. You know, that's all valor, right? But when you're floating in the water, shipwrecked, or if you're shaking the snake off of your hand into the fire, it's not real pleasant at the moment. Yeah. And it says pray for him, right? Okay, so I was doing that one time. I was like, okay, you know, this is one of the first times I got into spiritual warfare, and I'm too ignorant to even know what to call it, right? And I read in there, it says, pray for this, pray for that, pray for me also. And it hit me because I was in jail, and I pray for everybody. And I'm in jail; they're free. And I thought about some of the elders that had passed on or whatever else like that. And I was like, God, could you just give them another chance? God, could you just go back into their life and just like, while they were alive. God, you transcend time. God, could you go back into my grandpa's life, and while he was alive, give him opportunity, and you draw him to you during that time? Because I know you can, because you transcend time. You know what I mean? And it dawned on me because I was praying for an upcoming court date. So there was fervent prayer. Get me out of this concrete box. You know what I mean? The motivation's right there, staring you in the face. You've basically been in a closet. Go to your bathroom, shut the door, and imagine the bathtub is like bunk beds, right? And then have your wife just slide a grilled cheese sandwich under the door about twice, 3 times a day, and just stay there for a week. You know what I mean? Just live in the bathroom. Have your you got your little sink. We call it the shitter sink because the toilet had a sink in the back of it, right? And it's about the right height too, where you can do them back arm workouts right on top of it. And it had a little intercom button, so the guys in there got to fight. Yeah, and it's about the size of a bathroom. You know what I mean? And you're just there for months, and the people that they put in there with you have significant issues. Anyway, so don't invite the neighborhood drunk to join you while you try this exercise. But yeah, go lock yourself in the bathroom for a week and see how you like it. And just use the Bible and have the old lady slide a sandwich under the door every now and then. And yeah, it's you will definitely up your prayer game. Anyway, I got to laugh totally forgot what I was going to say, and I might have to make a round two. I might have to watch this, get to the point. Man, while you're out here doing stuff, it's been my experience. One of the reasons why I keep telling y'all to go start witnessing at the coffee pot is because, you know what I mean? Like, you talk to them old people that fish, right? And you can talk to them superficially or whatever, but if you get to be their buddy, they'll start telling you, hey, at this time of year, this is what you want to do, and this is where you want to do it, right? And they're good fishermen, okay? And then when you start catching these random people at the gas station, man, I'm telling you, you got to do it because God will work through you, okay? So I get to hear what God's telling these people. You know what I mean? So I go out here, and I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Pig-headed, stubborn sinner, okay? So when I hear read the Bible 6,000 times, because I told 6,000 people to read the Bible, I might wind up reading it, you know what I mean? It's kind of encouraging, a little self-fulfilling prophecy, you might say. I don't like to church it up with the big words like prophet, stuff like that, which may be a disservice to myself and others of the cloth. But there is such a disdain with people that have been hurt by the church. I mean, there's a guy with 2 million followers that has a Bible study that hates cops and hates clergy. You know what I mean? And he's running a deal with it. He tries to impose the same rules in his little gathering and enforce that, which is law enforcement, and creating his own law. So he is law enforcement and judge and corporate. He's man of his cloth. He's developing his own quilt. Not just man of the cloth, but he is a quilt. And he don't even see it. It's just like it'll be a self-loathing, oh wow, slap to the face when it dawns on him one of these days. But he's yet to figure that out. He goes back and talks about the raising a lot. And Dad used to tell me, boy, one of these days you'll pay for your raising. And of course, while you're raising kids, the kids do certain things and you got to deal with it or whatever. And that's what he was talking about. Like he raised me, and later I would raise, and suffering those slings and arrows of raising up a child is, you know, paying back and seeing where Dad was coming from and all this kind of stuff. However, so you take this on a biblical scale, and how has God raised you? Okay, you're going to pay for your raising. Okay, and once you disciple somebody enough to where they understand pay for your raising, a box of raisins on special events. You know what I mean? You know how like you connect with somebody, you look at them and you get the nod or whatever. You know, back in the day you had the handshake to get a bag of weed or whatever like that. Kind of the same concept, but just total goodness. Pay for your raisin. You know what I mean? There's people in this world that when it's a special time, I can send them. You can get like an 8-pack or whatever of these raisins. You get a little bitty one, and you can send it in the mail or whatever else like that. And yeah, you talk about this whole spiritual thing and this whole freaking like nod. Like, I'm proud of you, man. You're paying for your raisins. But when you think about that, and when you think about your Father that is in heaven, you know what I mean? I'm amazed at how many people still don't realize it's an outline for prayer instead of like you're supposed to quote that. I'm glad that we quote it though. I'm glad, like, on the one hand, it seems like they messed it up. But on the other hand, like the fact that everybody quotes it, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us the way we forgive the trespasses against us. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. I might have left part of it out. Anyway, man, by the time you realize that's an outline, you hit that level where you're like, okay, that's the outline for prayer, and you go back and dissect it. You've memorized it. You've said it enough times where you can write that prayer out and then go through there. Probably need to whiteboard this, right? Do step by step. You know what I mean? Our Father, acknowledging who He is and everything else like that. That's your opener. Who art in heaven, acknowledge where He's at, King of everything. Hallowed be thy name. You know, honor His name. And in that moment, bring up a topic, specific attributable name. You know, wonderful counselor. You know what I mean? You got that person in your life that's having some mental blockage and upset. That's kind of a big one nowadays. They just go through there step by step, each one, right? And then down underneath it, you know what I mean? You can. I need to do a workbook like this, like what's her name? There's a lady, Jude Hunt. Jude Hunt. She has a booklet for about every type of abuse that'll help you get through stuff. Jude Hunt. JUDHUNT. Look that up. Get her source material. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. You can go through every type of hurt and pain and blah, blah, whatever, and you can use that. I mean, this lady spent a decade of her life, and I mean, she's got the letters behind her name to back it up the whole 9 yards. Even if you're somebody that is too paranoid to go talk to somebody, if you can't really confess it because you don't even know what it is, and you ain't got time in your day to take out, you're like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and go to therapy for 6 weeks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even think you need to go to begin with, so like you're not going. But then you're like, you know, I got drunk and, you know, got in a fist fight. Well, you you might need to look this stuff up. You know what I mean? And go through it with your spouse. Like there's a whole list of booklets. Just reading the categories out loud with your spouse. And let your spouse pick 3. And then you just, in your own time, take the time to read those. Wow, that's a thing. Anyway, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And yeah, if you happen to be a clinical practitioner, even if that's a word, yes, get those books. I mean, you know, if you're angry and you kind of, you know, like Vikings, perhaps some of them booklets or whatever. I'm not going to say plagiarize it into your own situation, but you can definitely read that and say it again to a also serviceman type guy, and yeah, really take it to the next level, because it's the female that did it, right? But it's all lined out right there. So if the male with the masculine was to go through that again and not mirror, not mimic, but write that in your own words. To real men of genius. That would be epic. That would be epic. It's hard for a guy to read that stuff like that or whatever, and the way it's talked about and everything. It's like you know, if Grandma sent you down, it's going to talk to you about the birds and the bees. You know, it's just like awkward from Jump Street, right? But like you know, you and your buddy sit down and it's like, you know. Anyway, birds and the bees. You and your buddies are like drinking or whatever. You might be bragging, you might be talking, you might be giving advice on how to, you know, make ends meet or whatever. That's a lot different than sitting down with Grandma. But Grandma has an outline and topic and everything of stuff that you ain't even thought of. More than likely. It's almost guaranteed. It's more than likely. But like more than likely, it's like right here, and this is like that. It's pretty extensive. It's very extensive. I was impressed. There's hundreds. Anyway, especially if that was in a form to deal with specific abuses at, let's say, some type of a, rehab or restoration facility, I think that would be great. And I get a strong feeling that this is just confirmation to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and execute on that. We're going to need about 6 hours a day, you know. So get your little Viking hat on. Just like get her done, you know. However that works. I don't know. I got like this like the Minnesota Vikings thing in my head with the long trailing stash handles. But like whistling while he works. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, way out left field. So the water tower, in a way, that's God, but in a way, that's your inner man. Okay, so you have this strength inside of you, this spinal inside of you, right? And just think right now about the base of your skull where it connects to your spine. Right there, you know, like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. Comes to mind? Okay, so you got this weight set right there, and you're trying to stand up under the pressure, the work, the bills. You know, are we going to have parts to fix the truck because China don't play nice no more? Whatever, right? The AT&T parts, are they infiltrated with steal your stuff? Yeah, they are, okay? And it's actually Satan that's stealing your stuff, but he's pretending to be China. The U.S. is telling the U.S. people it's China, and China people's hearing that it's the U.S. doing it, and then like they'll make us fight to thin the herd because they don't need us because they got automation, and they think they're going to fight Jesus and win. So yeah, or they know they're going to lose, and they just want to inflict as much pain on the Father as possible. And then God's like allowing that to mold you and me into Christ likeness for the new earth to suit his purposes there, which is family. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're gonna hunt this deal. The book of Jude and the Viking words. That would be epic. Okay, so I'm this pillar that's carrying this weight of my world. You know, it's Skippy land. Skip has to put up with Skip stuff, and somehow I have to let God take care of the farm. I have to let God take care of Ticker 2. I have to let God take care of Unit T. I had to bear the weight of this truck in this ministry. You know what I mean? And when I'm in that moment, like I'm the water tower type of deal. You know what I mean? So what's going to flow out of me? And if there's somewhere in there where you mature to the point where you realize that you are the hands and feet of God in the earth, right? So if I'm going to be the hands and feet, I want to be real obedient. But I have to be obedient to the specifics of my assignment. There's the corporate and the general and everything else like that. There's also the corporal and the generals and the sergeants and lieutenants and all of that as well. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander on the one side, and on the other side it's so individual specific that it's just, you know, I think Jesus even said one person esteems the Sabbath and another person esteems every day the same. You know what I mean? What if you can't figure out what day the Sabbath is, so you just honor God every day? Is that what he said to do? Is that what he said to do? Yes. Did he say to take a day off every week? Yes. What day is it? Did God, when he wrote the Ten Commandments, did he set in stone what day you're supposed to do that? Yeah. The seventh day. Did he say when we're supposed to start counting? Yeah. The first sliver of the moon. Are you going to be able to work that into this broken system? No. No. You can't. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can pick which system you're going to go with. And then you're going to elevate that above what God told you to do. He said go by the sliver of the moon. It's fact. And then we're going to operate within our calendar because we have to interact with the world. You know what I mean? We're not of the world. We're of God, but we're in the world. You see what I'm saying? So like if you're a fish, you got to swim because you're in the water. Okay, so this system is forcing us in the United States to pick Saturday or Sunday. You can go with Friday night till Saturday night. You can do that. You can do that. Is that what the book says to do? No. No, that's not what the book says to do. So like, where are you going to take it? You know, to what level of extreme? There's extreme golf cart. What extreme golf carts are you going to ride? I guess they race golf carts there. It's got to say something about relax. I think about a golf cart race. That sounds like a lot of fun. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say it was a sign. Extreme golf carts. When you consider which day the Sabbath is, I want you to ponder extreme golf cart racing. Something about a llama. Hell, man. You ever see a llama spit in somebody's face? That is hilarious. Especially if it's some city slicker that has no idea it's coming. I love that. I mean, I hate that they do it. Don't get me wrong. It actually makes me mad. And then, yeah. But, dude, that's some funny stuff right there. If you can't laugh at some city slicker getting up there trying to pet a llama or alpaca or whatever like that thing's just like lays its ears back and everything, and you know it's coming. You know it's coming. And they don't have a clue. They're just like, come here. I got some. And it's just like, bleh. And they're like, that moment they freeze. I love it. There's a deal right by the house called a Wagon Wheel. And I think it's Wagon Wheel RV Park or something like that. And they're city slickers. They'll buy a freaking $300,000 rig. You know, they got $200,000 travel trailer and a $120,000 diesel truck to pull it around. And I mean, they can't park a Prius. And then they go out there. There's a sign. It's like, you can pet these. Leave this guy alone over here. He's by himself for a reason. And they'll be like, oh, he's by himself. And they'll walk down there every time. And that dude will just spit right in their face. It is, yeah. If you're at the petting zoo and the sign says, don't go near this one, you better pay attention. If you're a city slicker out there thinking about moving to the country, watch out for the llama. And it's always a city slicker too. Like, I don't know why they like him so much. Oh, he's cute, blah, blah, blah. I think it's when they do that little hopping thing. And he'll do that too. He's out there by himself. So what the deal is, they took him away from the girls because they got too many of them. And those, oh man, you talk about, they use rabbits to talk about procreation, right? But man, them llamas ain't no, they're, yeah, they, well, I think the ducks are the worst about it, but yeah, anyway, yeah, there's certain things. They're talking about birds and bees. They'll be talking about rabbits, ducks, and llamas, because I mean, it's just non-stop. Which is more proof a man should control himself, because we're not animals. Well, that's our show for today, folks. Like and share. If you know somebody that's got some time to kill today, and you want to just, if you want to just play this, sit down with, find you a buddy, and just sit down with them, and just play this, and say, what do you think about that? And let your buddy tell you what he thinks. And just pause through this video. This is an hour long. Take a couple hours. Sit down with a friend and say, hey man, this is going to be entertaining, and this is going to be enlightening and insightful. You know, and if you happen to be some type of, you know, guy from the internet, and you know a Viking, maybe just sit down and just go through this deal and be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And just let that man talk or whatever, and then wait till the end of it, and then you know, maybe take notes of you know, maybe just note where you paused, and then note the response or whatever like that. Maybe just leave a phone recording, you know what I'm saying? And you and your friend go through this video and have a conversation type of deal. It'll take you 2 hours. It's a 2-hour investment into the kingdom and into the kid folk. So, you know, build yourself, building others. You know, iron sharpens iron. And that's a thing. But sometimes you don't need sharp iron. Sometimes you need to drill a hole in the iron and bolt the iron together and build a structure. It's like your red iron and all that. You might be an iron worker. Who knows? But to talk about the water tower and carrying the weight, You have to build a structure underneath that can withstand the weight so that the building doesn't collapse. And then it has to be strong enough that even if the demolition team in the process, like with the Twin Towers or whatever like that, obviously some demo crews went in there and planted thermite and all that type of stuff. And then, fire, the impact from the planes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if I'm the tower, right? I've been attacked with all these different things. What's the structure underneath that keeps it together? You see what I'm saying? That's supernatural. You know what I mean? That keeps me together. Realizing God is the tower, but I'm made in His image. I am a tower. I'm carrying the weight of my world, and it's the supernatural strength of God in me that withstands the thermite, that withstands the jet fuel. And in Skippy's world, we don't want the suicide net for the ones that are jumping in the fire. We want to extinguish the fire immediately, even if it's 4,000 gallons of jet fuel. Can't do that in the natural. Can't do that with the supernatural. So supernatural means, hey, it's super. It might be super duper, but it's natural, man. It's natural. It's in our nature to be Christ-like. It's in our nature to walk in miracles. There's a song I'm going to attach that needs to go to the kinfolk. Every church needs to be singing this. There has been so many thousands of people baptized in the last couple of weeks. If you search the internet for baptisms, search it out, find these places that are doing these baptisms. Let's set up, grandma prays for the fresh baptisms or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this prayer network going, and I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot to have all these people coming to you saying, "Help me," pray for this, pray for that, getting real specific. You know what I mean? And 15 people get them around and lay hands on them and all this kind of stuff like that. Well, let's go back to Scripture. Moses was judging everybody, and he's getting wore out. What'd he do? He set up a system of governance. You know what I'm saying? So we need this system of prayer. We need this prayer thing to not be exclusive. You know what I mean? Just like with the books about these different situations, anger, malice, dealing with, trauma, whatever, codependence, all kinds of stuff, right? In the same way, like prayer. You know what I mean? We need a whole category of booklets for prayer. We need the prayer outlines. What are the prayers? This, that, and the other. And it needs to be based underneath the Lord's Prayer. Okay, so everybody's learning the Lord's Prayer, but the outline, you know what I mean? So if we also had a booklet that was publishable, and these aren't things that should be done as a ministry to get equipment to the people, but you can have the printing press be an actual business that turns a profit to employ people doing this. Dayspring is not a charity. Whoever owns those printers and stuff's making money, completely legit, making sure that there is birthday cards with scriptures in them and pretty pictures. Okay? If you're publishing all these work booklets, and if you're printing, well, you can publish and print this, and the prayer, you know what I mean? If I had a fold-out deal where it's just origami and I fold it out and everything like that till it's yay long, or maybe like a pop-up book type of deal, for the Lord's Prayer, you know what I mean? Where I can unfold this thing like a road map where it's big. You know what I'm saying? Like, 4 foot wide, 2 foot tall. And I can unfold that in front of a small group and then have a booklet that goes along with it. and we could just pick a topic. You know what I mean? World hunger, whatever. Well, that's too big a topic. We could say getting to work on time, being on time for your specific needs in your life. You know what I mean? How to get over being late or whatever. You know what I mean? But we got this roadmap of prayer. Okay, so this prayer. You know what I mean? And then we could have, you know, the different stages and develop standard operating procedures, you know what I mean, that are, you know, Holy Ghost flexible, but baseline iron. You know what I'm saying? And let's all get together, you know what I'm saying? And then let's get this to the people that are actually going to pray. You know, when COVID-19 come through, that was to wipe out them old ladies that pray all night. You know what I'm saying? That was the spine of America right there. You know what I mean? They'd stay up all night. They like to sing. You know what I mean? They sing spiritual songs and hymns to each other. And then let's, like, you know, make these. We need some old Baptist hymnals. You know what I mean? We're going into World War III and we're expecting to lose. We're going to win this deal because, you know, God said. You know what I mean? And we're going to struggle in the process and everything else like that. And we're going to sharpen and build with iron. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to build with gold. Okay? Because that's going to make it through to everything. Gold and gemstones, not wood, stubble, and hay. You know what I'm saying? Forget all that. Forget all that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we're going to go back to, you know, little house on the prairie because we ain't got no electric, I mean, you might want to go ahead and learn how to bake leather and be a blacksmith. You know what I mean? Anyways, the epic is, man, the outline of prayer, the memorization via the singing. You know, I mean, look at the Battle Hymn of the Republic. That song has got teeth. That song has talons of the eagle and freaking teeth of the great white shark. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it could lose a few teeth and it still got you by the rows and rows of teeth. And sharp, too. My goodness. Hot dog. They got a lot of teeth in them old great white sharks. You know what I'm saying? Just start out your prayer with the da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then the drums roll in. Jesus! Whatever, you know what I mean? I just come in with some Battle Hymn of the Republic. You know what I mean? And do some a cappella. Jesus! They do like some there's epic intros with like Megadeth and stuff. And they just cut the music, dude. Just a real powerful, you know what I mean? And they just cut the music and just go straight freaking Oak Ridge Boys singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic a cappella. You know what I mean? Just straight voice to God. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. And that's something I wanted to do. Like, that's the reason why I have the truck I have and everything else like this. I wanted to go and do the rolling revival. You know what I mean? I wanted to set up a truck and trailer system like a USO tour and just go around the country praising God. Like, that's my retirement delightful, what I'd like to do. If I was gonna, if I really was to just like I bet this guy, him and his wife was doing tent revivals. He just had a tent. He'd go here, he'd go there, just living off donations. You know what I mean? And I said, man, is it hard? I said, how much work is this versus when you work? He said, I work 6 times as hard now as I did then. And I said, do you ever run short? He said, I've never run short one time in 23 years, but it's been close just about every time. So, I mean, that was very inspiring and everything like that. I thought that was really cool. But I want to inspire the you know, I was watching a deal with I think it was Garth Brooks talking about how Kiss influenced him and how he wanted to have these epic shows. You know what I mean? So the Jay Leno thing with the jokes and all that kind of stuff, and then the epics, I mean, all the way to like pyrotechnics. You know what I mean? And then I see like how Kid Rock was getting involved in doing some tours and stuff like that or whatever. And man, like if that could just be all focused on God, you know what I'm saying? And this, you know, and then you got this prepper movement and self-reliance and permaculture and stuff. Just like a whole weekend of Jesus meets hippie meets freaking Minuteman. The American movement would be awesome. And, you know, have all just this, you know, have the old ladies out there making quilts, have, you know, some stuff about, you know, horses and stuff, and, you know, tack and ox carts. You know what I mean? Why does nobody want an ox anymore? Like, are you serious right now? Like, if it's really the apocalypse, I want a yoke of oxen and 7 camels. I mean, seriously, like, for real. No joke at all. No joke intended whatsoever. I want 7 camels and at least a yoke of oxen. And I mean like 6 ox that I can attach to a whatever trailer, plow, you know, 6 ox, a 6-pack, yoked together with spare tack to do it again. That's what makes sense. You know what I mean? Hello, have you ever hauled hay? Like, do you have the box where you can throw the grass in there and compact it yourself and make the hay? Throw it on the cart. The cart actually has all the wheels. You know what I mean? Like, how about conversion kits where you just pull the motor, transmission, and useless weight out of the vehicle? Yeah, under the hood is made into a watertight situation for cargo. And then the bed of the truck is for, you know, cargo. You know what I mean? You got a you know, little old 20-foot trailer that's set up for pulling it with a tractor. It's got the little turning deal where the whole front axle turns as you go around the corner. You know what I mean? It's got the tires at the corners instead of 2 in the middle. You got that set up. Then, you know, you got your old truck. And you can just, you know, hook your ox to the front of this truck. You got all your chuck wagon under the hood. You and your occupants have got, you know, a cab. You got your flatbed with your stuff and the rest of your, you know, tack and everything like that. And cargo and passengers. You know what I mean? So you can do like this stagecoach bus line thing going on, you know, and then on your ladder rack. You know, people riding shotgun, literally, you know. Except they ride shotgun, they're riding, you know, 308. And then you're pulling your cart that's got your freight that you're moving from, you know, Unit T to Ticker 2 type of deal. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what makes sense to me. That's what makes sense. You know what I mean? Because, you know, how are we going to go? How are we going to go from Oklahoma to Nebraska and bring enough bullshit to fertilize Nebraska? You know what I mean? You're going to need an ox to do that. You're going to need this stuff set up in the locals. And right now, buddy, you can move a lot of stuff. I'm driving down a 7-lane highway right now. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's 168, 70 mile an hour now because I pushed the button. So, you know, I call it Knights of the Horse Trailer. You know what I mean? You need to be able to drive around with a horse trailer and look at the way the horse trailers are set up. You know what I mean? Throw your hay on top. Got a little bit of living quarters. You know, I'd seen a guy, he had a 98 Dodge 5.9 6-speed extended cab and a horse trailer that holds 6 horses, and the living quarters you could sleep 4. I thought, man, that if you was just going to go and do, I mean, if you had a tank in the bed of that pickup with your fuel for the truck, I mean, you're good to go. You're pretty well good to go until you run out of fuel. Then you get out, you know, go with the horses or whatever. And that's all thinking about some kind of bug out deal or whatever else like that. But in the reality, we look at, you know, Agenda 2030. And in there it talks about they're afraid of the people in the outlying regions. Most of these people will get together and do whatever they say and take the mark of the beast and everything like that. Well, if we're prepping, we need to be setting up the outlying regions. You know what I mean? And that's going to take supernatural intervention. Okay, so I'm gonna pause right here, and I'm gonna make another video about supernatural intervention, and that's what we'll do right now. All right, Raquel, go get him. Get him! Get him! Yeah, go get him! Get him! Skid him! Skid him! Get him! Get him! Skid him! Get him and skid him and get him! Get him and skid him and get him!